Good afternoon. It's great to be with you. Brad Macbeth here from The Simple Plan. And we've got a great show going on today. It's really part two of what we started last week. Last week we looked at how much do you need to accumulate to live well in retirement? Or how do you figure that out? And so we provided a link to a calculator, went through it, how you can calculate just how much you're going to need in retirement to live the way you want to. Kind of coming up with what's that big nest egg number that you need. Well, this week we're looking at building the retirement you're looking for. How much do you need to be saving today to reach that target that we talked about last week? And what kind of goes hand in glove with that is what rate of return do you need to be getting in order to achieve that, to hit that target in the future. So we're pretty excited about this. It's a great kind of 1-2 that's going to help you figure out how to get your retirement planning under control. And just want to thank you for being here today. It's Thanksgiving in the United States. It's a beautiful day outside. Well, it was Thanksgiving yesterday in the United States. And, we've got a great weekend coming up. Now, I want to mention a couple of things. We did a show probably 2, might have been 3 weeks ago. And I kind of talked a lot about gratitude and not taking things for granted. We take so many things for granted. Well, lo and behold, right after that show, a few days later, some of the things we really take for granted got really trashed here in British Columbia. So, for example, one of the things we take for granted is being able to travel around freely. Well, we had terrible storms and floods, which compromised many aspects of our infrastructure in British Columbia. So you couldn't drive outside of kind of your urban areas in a lot of parts of the province. And what we took for granted of being able to drive back and forth from city to city and all over this province was cut off. I also mentioned during that show not taking for granted basic necessities, but just being grateful for them. Thankful for things like running water and flush toilets, that kind of stuff. Being able to take a hot shower. Well, during this really calamity that hit us in the form of a big storm and lots of flooding, broken dike down in the Abbotsford area, and many washouts on many of our highways. An entire town had to be evacuated because that very water and water treatment / sewage system failed. It was not working. And so the entire town of Merritt, I believe a population of about 7,000 people, had to be evacuated. So our hearts go out to those folks. There's just a lot of struggle going on, a lot of suffering going on, massive damage to our agriculture infrastructure, massive damage to highways. And so just a reminder, be grateful for those things that we do have. And even though we're experiencing a lot of difficulty and dislocation, we are going to have we're going to get many of those things rebuilt. And so, again, just to underscore that we have much to be thankful for, and we shouldn't take it for granted, but we should be thankful for it. And obviously, we need to take care of it. We also need to take care of things when these great calamities occur and help our neighbors and our fellow countrymen. So just wanted to point that out. Want to tell you that today I want to thank our sponsor, the Simple Plan Community. Urge you to go join the Simple Plan Community. That's at facebook.com/groups/Simple Plan Community. And you're going to want to go join there because that's where you're going to find the link for today's calculator. So I want to encourage you to go there and join. You'll get access to all sorts of tools, tips, and you'll be able as well to ask your questions, and you will have a community of like-minded folks who are seeking to achieve the same kinds of financial goals that you are. So thanks very much. Today we are, as I said, going to look at what do I need to do to build my retirement. And so it's one thing to come up with this, what's the nest egg that I'm going to need to retire comfortably. But that's just kind of a big target. Then we have to set about how we're going to get there. What are we going to do today to achieve our goal in the future of a retirement that's the retirement we're looking for? So again, last week we looked at how to calculate that nest egg number. Today, we are going to look at how much do you need to be setting aside and what do you need to be doing from an investment rate of return in order to reach that target. So let's get right to it. I'm going to share a calculator with you. And the calculator is fairly simple and interesting and intuitive to operate. If you want to gain access to this, simply go to our Facebook community and you'll find the links in there. So up here we have the goal. And so we want to, this would have been the big number we calculated last week. So we're just going to use $1 million as just a simple number to aim for. Now, and this is expressed in today's dollars. So what do we mean by that? Well, we all know that what we can buy today with $100 is not as much as we could buy with $100 20 years ago. That's the effect of inflation. Well, you have to plan for your retirement in that same way. So in today's economy, what we have to be figuring out is how much do I need to be saving? How much do I need to be gathering in order to be sure that I'm going to hit my retirement? And how big does that number need to be in the future? So if we're saying, well, in today's terms, I would need $1 million to retire comfortably, or whatever that number is that you calculated. Check out our episode last week. That number is going to get bigger the further you are away from retirement. Now, if your retirement is next year, that number is not going to get that much bigger. But if your retirement is 25 years away, that number is going to get a whole lot bigger by the time you get there. It's going to need to be adjusted for inflation. So that has a few components to it. How far away am I from that retirement? So let's say that I'm planning to retire at age 65. I'm 40 years old. That means I am 25 years from retirement. So in 25 years, I'm wanting to have the equivalent of $1 million nest egg accumulated. And for all of these, you can either just double click in them and enter the numbers you want, or you can use the sliders if you prefer to do that. If you want to finely tune your numbers, you probably want to just enter a number. Okay, so we're saying that we're 25 years from retirement and we need to accumulate $1 million. By the way, when you see one of these green circles with a question mark, you can roll over it to find out a little tooltip about what you're working on. So, inflation rate. Well, for a number of years, I've been saying 2% was probably adequate. We've been at historically low interest rates and inflation rates for quite some time. However, we are seeing inflation kick up in a pretty strong way. And honestly, despite our central bank's assurances that, oh, this is just temporary, I don't believe that. One of the inflationary forces in our world is governments printing money, that is creating money out of thin air. And they've been doing that quite extensively for the last couple of years. So that's fueling inflation. Labor costs are also going up. We're hearing about that. That's going to fuel inflation. More government programs are being rolled out, such as right now there's, I think, subsidized daycare. $10 daycare is being rolled out. And yesterday in BC, they announced mandatory 5 days of sick days for all employees in British Columbia. I'm not saying these things are good or bad. I'm just saying they're being rolled out. They're going to cost money, and money doesn't come out of thin air. It has to come from somewhere. So these are going to have an inflationary effect. So I would say that long-term inflation has been more in the realm of 4%. We've been more around 1.5. I would go at least 2.5, or if you want to be conservative, that is safe for yourself, go with 3. Okay, so here's what that means. That means 25 years from now, this $1 million, 25 years from now, at 3% inflation, you're going to need to have accumulated $2,093,000. Okay, so we have our work cut out for us. Now, how much do we have saved already? So let's say, for example, we have, let's call it $250,000 already set aside that's earmarked for retirement. So this isn't money to go on vacation or to buy a car or anything else. This is money that's earmarked for retirement. So we're not going to spend it on something else. It's not our emergency fund. It is pointing at how we're going to live once we retire. So our current savings is $250,000. Now, you can pick whether you want to make annual or monthly contributions to your savings. I suggest you make monthly or even more granular ones, but for a calculator, you can select monthly or annual. And then you pick whether you're contributing at the beginning of the period or the end. That is, are you putting your money into your retirement fund at the beginning of the year or at the end of the year? At the beginning of the month or the end of the month. On a monthly basis, it doesn't make that much difference, but on an annual basis, it does. Okay, so we've got monthly selected, and we're putting our money in at the end of the month. And so right now we're contributing $500 a month, and we're planning on getting a return of 6%. So what do we see? Well, down at the bottom here, we see our goal to become that millionaire in today's terms. We're going to need to amass $2,093,000. And right now, our savings program is only going to get us to $1,419,000 and change. So we can take our slider here for our regular savings rate, slide it along. You see it's increasing. And it's going to just right about there at 14, let's call it 1475. It just barely crosses, it gives us a surplus of $1,300. So that's how much we would need to be saving monthly. Now, we can look at that and go, okay, excellent, I'm on track, I can do that, I'm just going to bump up my savings rate. And then you'd be meeting your target at 6%. But let's say that we might think that we can get a better rate of return. Let's imagine we could get, let's say that we might say, well, I think I can get 8%. Whoops. And so 8%, we are now exceeding the target. We have exceeded it by almost $1 million down here. That's our surplus in 25 years. So we don't need to be saving as much. So what are we going to, what does that do to our monthly savings requirement? Well, we'll go back to our slider and let's slide it down. And we'll see, okay, our number is falling there. Oop. So there you go. That's our, well, let's go to 400 just to make it even. And that gets us to 1249 shortage. That's within the margin of error, so that's fine. Okay, so now there's an interesting thing we've noticed, right? At 6%, we need $1,400 a month to be set aside. At 8%, we only need $400 a month to be set aside. So do you think that it makes a big difference what your rate of return is, and that you need to be thinking very carefully about that? And the answer is, of course, that has a profound effect. Now, another way we could adjust, so let's say, well, I'm not that confident that I can get 8, but I'm sure I can get 7. So we go to 7 again. Got to stop hitting that tab key. All right, so we go to 7, and now we have a shortfall again. And let's see what 500 will get us. That still leaves us short. So what else could I do? Well, I could work longer. I could give myself more time to reach my goal. That's going to give two things. It's going to give more annual contributions. It's also going to give, and this is the much more important point, it's going to give more time for my money to compound, which is a very powerful effect. So let's just see what I might do there. So I'm saying I'm going to retire at 65 because I'm age 40. So let's see when I would have to wait until. I would have to work about 29 years. So if I wanted to wait till age 69 to retire at my 3% inflation rate, my 7% rate of return, I would be fine putting my $500 a month away. So the beauty of this calculator is it lets you play back and forth with the different variables. You can even amend your goal. You can say, well, I don't want to save that much. I don't want to work that long. I don't want to take that much investment risk to get a higher rate of return. So I'm going to reduce my goal. So you can just come in here and slide around till your heart's content until you get the mix that you want of when you're going to retire, what rate of return you need, and how much you need to be saving in order to do that. Now, the one thing I don't recommend you do is I'm always advocating that people be conservative in making these estimates. So don't think that, well, I'm going to work till age 85. Research shows that for most people, our bodies really start to deteriorate after our mid-70s. Now, for some people, that might not happen till their early 80s. For some, it starts to happen sooner. But physically, it gets difficult for us to do more things past about 75. Of course, we also go through some cognitive decline. So depending on the nature of your work, if there's a physical component, you're going to be really putting a strain on your body. If there's a strong cognitive component, then you might find it gets harder to do that work. Now, maybe you don't. You look at someone like Warren Buffett. He's working away. He's well past that age. But you don't know what lies in store for you that way. So you don't want to necessarily plan that you're going to be able to work until you almost are ready to pass away. You also don't want to assume that inflation might be really low. Maybe inflation will stay at 1%. Well, maybe it will, but if it doesn't, it's going to eat away. We saw what a 2% difference made in rate of return. 2% difference in inflation rate has that same impact. Exactly the same. Doesn't matter where that 2% is. So in rate of return, if you increase by 2%, that's of enormous powerful benefit to you. But in inflation, if that increases by 2%, that is working away at you in a very strong fashion. Obviously, you can't change your current savings. They just are what they are right now. But you can control your amount of monthly savings. Now, you don't want to work for the next 29 and a quarter years and completely starve yourself of any extra spending money, fun, vacations, or whatever else. So this is a great tool, and then it shows you quite visually what the different variables are that you can work with in order to make decisions around how you want to plan for retirement. So this is very much what we do when we work with clients, when we're building plans for them. It's a trade-off. Now, there's many other complex variables that can go behind this, such as what are you investing in, how much risk are you taking there, what's happening on the tax side of things, both today and in the future, which aren't considered in this calculator. That's kind of getting down to a detailed level that's hard to put into a simple calculator like this. But you can definitely see how much money you need to be saving. And the other thing is you can come back to this kind of a calculator every year, updating both the current amount you have accumulated and how much you're going to continue saving and your rate of return based on kind of track record, and see how things are going. That's one of the things that we do with all clients when we work with them. It's great to build a plan. It's great to get started. We all love that. It's very exciting. But the most important thing is to keep monitoring. Every 6 months, maybe every year, you go back and you check your assumptions, your progress, are things unfolding as you anticipated, and you adjust. You adjust your course constantly to keep aiming for your target. So that gives you a good sense of what you need to do in order to hit your retirement goals. First step, as we looked at last week, is to build that number, that nest egg number that you need. What's the big number I need to accumulate? And then what we saw this week is how much do I need to be accumulating, and what am I assuming about things like inflation and investments and timing of my retirement in order to reach those goals. So I hope you found that helpful. Again, you can find the link for that in our Facebook community, the Simple Plan community. Just go to facebook.com/groups/Simple Plan community. Come join us. We've got a great group of people there. We have questions going on. We have some special posts that go on just for people in the community that'll help you reach your retirement goals, get you where you want to go. So once again, look forward to seeing you in that community. We'll be posting the link for the calculator there today. You'll be able to watch the replay of this video in there. And of course, you can also find us on YouTube. So thanks very much for taking the time to be with us today. Really appreciate you. Brad Macbeth here from The Simple Plan and signing off. We look forward to being with you next week. Take care.